Hey, good morning, Fargo. It's Thursday, 11:07 right now in the AM. So it must be Thursdays with Tony. I'm your host, Tony Gehrig. You can be part of the show, 701-293-9000. Email studio at wdayradionow.com. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. If you make a comment on Facebook, I will comment back most likely, if I see it. Good show today. Second half of the show, we'll have Rory Jorgensen, who's running for West Fargo City Commission. After I get Rory on, I will have met with all the candidates, I do believe, for Fargo and West Fargo. But first, we have Rick Becker, who seems to be in the news a lot lately. Rick, Dr. Rick Becker from Bismarck, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Rick, you are running for Congress, but that's not exactly why I asked you on the show today. I've been hearing more and more about your proposal to end property taxes here in the state of North Dakota. Do you just want to give us a quick synopsis of what you're proposing and what the ballot measure would say?
Yep. So we are collecting signatures. If we get enough, it will be on the November ballot. It's a constitutional measure. It does two things. It gives property tax relief and property tax reform. Keeping in mind, these are two things we were promised by the legislature for the last 12 years, and they haven't delivered. So the relief is that, well, the way it works is that the state must replace everything that every local subdivision, city, county, school district, township, everything that they levy in 2024. So that's what you and I pay in 2025. So the amount we pay in 2025, that amount is going to be replaced by the state.
Yep.
So that means we keep that amount. That's the huge relief. That's $1 billion per year left in taxpayers' pockets.
And just so Fargo knows, for the city commission, it would be $25 million, just for the city of Fargo. Okay, go ahead.
Yep, $25 million for the city of Fargo. The state has there's no strings attached. They don't get in the budget. They have nothing to do with the budget. They have no say. It's a flat amount that they get, and they will get every single year going forward, that flat amount. Which means, of course, that we taxpayers keep that money every single year going forward. So that's the relief. That's huge, huge relief. There's never been relief like that in the state. The other part is reform. So this changes how we tax. The tax right now, property tax, is valuation based. And it's a crappy tax that all of North Dakota hates. The reason we hate it, number one, valuation according to who? People are tired of getting the valuations in the mail, and their value of their house goes up, but they didn't do a dang thing to it.
Right.
But it still means they have to pay more taxes. So we hate the valuation process. We hate the fact that we don't understand what the heck is going on. What's a mill rate? What's a mill levy? What's an assessed value? What's a taxed value? They're all different things. None of it makes sense. The lack of transparency in taxing our citizens is, that's clearly not what the founding fathers thought should happen. So there's that component, and then there's the component where you can get kicked out of your house if you're on tough times for 2.5 years. Boom, you can get kicked out. So this reforms it. It does away with the valuation-based property tax. It leaves it up. This actually gives more control to the locals, the cities, the county school districts, where what they need above the amount that the state's going to give, because of course we expect that taxes are going to increase.
Right.
But now, instead of that increase being a valuation-based property tax, now it's a tax or a fee according to however they want to do it.
Right.
But now it's more transparent and accessible to the citizen because it's discussed at a city commission meeting, and the citizens are allowed public input. So it's more transparent. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
So that I've literally had several elected officials when I've been going across the state tell me that one of their big concerns is that people will say no to a tax increase. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's perfect. That's the whole idea.
Right.
People are not going to vote down services that they need. We all understand that we have to have responsibility for services that we receive. It's not up to someone else to pay for them, but at least we will have a better handle on keeping control of our elected officials from being such big crazy spenders.
Okay. Great synopsis. I think that hits home a lot. So let's talk about the critics then. The reason I'm really asking you on the show is one of my colleagues here at the station who's on 1100 AM The Flag, our sister station, Scott Hennon, a well-known conservative commentator, hates your plan. Okay, he's not shy about telling people all the pitfalls. So number one, here's one of the criticisms that is being levied is, okay, fine, you're just moving who's paying the bill, but it's all still tax dollars. So who cares? Will the state raise taxes in order to cover this $1 billion a year that they weren't covering before?
Oh, yeah, they're not going to. So that's that's a funny argument because we are keeping the money in our pocket. The state is covering it. And Scott, I don't know how he's confused about this. That is $1 billion less in tax dollars going to the state or in total, because we're keeping it in our pockets.
Right.
The state has billions of extra dollars.
Right.
So what we are doing is forcing the state to do what they had promised us that they were going to do. So they're going to take $1 billion of that excess, that unnecessary money, the money that they give in hundreds of millions of dollars to private companies. Now they don't have all of that slush money because we're taking $1 billion of it away, and that is going to be then we're starving the beast by $1 billion.
Okay, so big picture,
there is
Rick.
No need to increase.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no increased taxes.
That's what I wanted to get to. Is we have oil money, we have other income that we have. The state of North Dakota is flush with cash, billions and billions of billions squirreled away in different funds here and there, and we're not giving it back to the taxpayer. We're giving it away to people who aren't even North Dakotans in many cases, and that's the point I kind of want to make with that particular criticism.
Right.
Okay. Criticism number two is, like you kind of brought up, like, okay, Rick, fine. You're paying me $25 million this year. What if in 10 years I need $30 million? And I know you already said this, but I want you to reiterate it because this is the biggest thing that Scott Hannon is saying about this plan is, well, fine. You're paying me $25 million now, but what if I need 30 in 10 years or 5 years or 2 years? And all of a sudden, what? I got to beg the government or I got to raise a different tax? Well, who cares then? I want local control. I want to tax it here and have the city commission say how much and not the state of North Dakota.
Yeah. Again, the just complete confusion, and I don't know if it's intentional confusion or not. So here's the thing. So let's take that example. Fargo's getting $25 million in property tax, and then I don't know, say 3 years down the road they want $30 million, or they need, according to their budget, $30 million.
Right.
So the difference between the 25 and 30, without the measure in place, what happens? Well, they are going to tax the people who live in the city.
In Fargo. Let's just use Fargo.
They're going to tax them another $5 million. That's right. So the people of Fargo are paying the 25 plus the 5. They're paying 30. If this measure goes through, the state is covering the 25 million. If people of Fargo keep 25 million in their pockets, 3 years down the road, the city of Fargo says, well, we need, beyond that 25, we need another 5 million. Okay, they're going to go to the people of Fargo and they're going to tax the people of Fargo by $5 million, but it's in a more transparent, accessible way to the citizens of Fargo. So in that example, instead of being taxed 30 million, the people of Fargo are being taxed 5 million.
And there it is.
In what world is that not an awesome deal?
Yes, I get it. Rick, I told you one segment. Do you have time for another segment, or are you too busy with work?
No, I can do another one.
Hold on, because I really want to flesh this out on the other side of the break and give a personal example of me and what it would mean to me personally. And I'm an average dude, right? I have an average income. I have an exactly average home in the city of Fargo. My house is they say worth around $300,000, which right now is the exact average price of a home in the city of Fargo. So I think my example is a very good example. And so we'll flesh out on the other side of the break with Dr. Rick Becker. He's running for Congress, but he's not talking about that today. He's talking about his plan to end property taxes in the state of North Dakota. Lots of pushback from people who were even conservatives on this, but I want to give him an opportunity to explain why this is a fantastic deal for the average guy or girl in the city of Fargo. 701-293-9000. Email studio@wdayradionow.com. Message us on Facebook or on YouTube. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Thursdays with Tony, second segment, here with Dr. Rick Becker, who is running for Congress. But not today. Today, he's the guy trying to end your property taxes here in the state of North Dakota. He's got a measure. If it gets enough signatures, it will be on the ballot. We can vote for that. Rick, before I get to my example that I have, we have a thing called the Prairie Dog Fund, where the state of North Dakota sends Fargo, in particular, about $11 million per year. And no one complains about local control with that. So why is one pot of money so great and invaluable to the residents, while the same kind of measure where the state is sending us money all of a sudden going to bankrupt the state of North Dakota? Yeah.
Well, you bring up a logical point. Maybe that's the problem, Tony. It's logical, and they can't wrap their brains around that. So but the legislature will also tell you, and the Legislative Council, that the property tax buy-downs, which failed, by the way, but the property tax buy-downs have lowered our taxes by 40%. This is what they say. And we have sent, millions and millions of dollars for property tax buy-downs. That money all came, and there was no loss of control. There was so it's very interesting that these arguments don't hold, and the people who are opposed are very inconsistent. For just a quick example is they say, because right now, who gets property tax exemptions? Well, big business does. And the people who are in favor of that say that there's a return on investment. They love to say that phrase.
Yeah, right.
That when we give 5, 10, 15-year property tax abatements to businesses to have them come into your town, the return on investment is huge.
Right.
But they don't apply that logic to if everyone gets it.
Right.
They can't wrap their brains around what an amazing thing that would be for North Dakota economy. So they're very, very inconsistent.
Well, and you brought down the buyout or buy downs, I will say. So like here in the city of Fargo, I think it was something like 12%. I might be wrong, but it was like something like 12% they bought down for many years here in the city of Fargo. So what did the city of Fargo do? They raised the mills because you were buying them down. So we put them back on here in the city of Fargo. So we basically took your money and your money and was like, oh, what a great job. I mean, so how can you suggest on one hand that was a great deal for North Dakota and the state did a great thing, but on the other hand, if we do almost the same thing, Rick, only yours is better, how that's such a terrible thing? It blows my mind.
Right. Well, and if you want to, I hate to muddy the water, but another way to look at this measure is it is a 100% property tax buy down.
Right.
The reason, though, that it works and the other ones didn't is because we're changing the system.
Right.
We're dismantling the whole valuation mechanism.
Right.
And because we're doing that, that's why it's going to work. That's what we should have done years ago.
So in my personal life, this is a very quick example. I pay I pay off my house, Rick. Okay, so all I do now is pay taxes. That's all I pay, that and utilities, which is also part of taxes. Mm-hmm. Just for my home, I pay $500 a month just in property taxes. And again, I don't have a mansion. I have a regular guy's house, okay? If you were to buy it down 100% this year, I don't pay that anymore, all right? And then, if say in 2 or 3 years, we need a road tax that's $40 a month for everyone in the city of Fargo that generates millions of dollars for the city because we need more than we had from property taxes, well, that's $40 a month. So let's say it's even $50 a month. I'm still up $450 a month every month that I can spend within the community.
Yep. Well, and technically, Tony, you're still up $500 because they're going to charge you that extra $50 anyway.
Yes, that's true.
Hey, so I want to tell you something. If people go to endpropertytax.com and click on calculator, it'll pull up a property tax calculator. I just typed in, so you're paying $6,000 a year, right? Roughly.
Right on 5. Yeah, right on 5.
Well, you said $500 a month.
Yeah, you're right. It's more like 6. Shoot, you're right. Dang.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Rick.
You're welcome, Tony. So yeah, it's even worse than you thought.
Yep.
So if you go to the endpropertytax.com, click on the calculator. I just typed in $6,000, and what it says under the current system, your estimated property tax bill in 10 years is going to be about $9,400. Your total payments over those 10 years, $74,000, over $74,000. If this measure passes in 10 years, let's say in 5 years, you're going to be paying $1,500 instead of $7,500.
Right.
because you're saving that money year in and year out. And over the 5 years, your savings is $30,000. $30,000 in your pocket that the government will otherwise take over the course of 5 years that you can spend however you want. Take that huge, vacation you wanted to take or whatever.
Or buy a bigger house.
Buy a bigger house, buy a boat. I mean, whatever. Help pay for your kids' college, unless Biden's just going to take care of that. But anyway, so go to endpropertytax.com, click on the calculator. People can see how it actually will affect them.
So when I heard Scott Hennon's criticism about, hey, why would we, get rid of property taxes if we're just going to raise some other tax some other way somewhere else down the line, the analogy that came to my head was, okay, I'm Rick Becker and I have two jobs. I make $75,000 on my main job. I make $25,000 at my side gig. And I come to you and say, Rick, I'd hate to see you have two jobs. I'm going to be a good guy. I'm going to give you $25,000 so you can quit your job. And you're going to go, well, why would I quit my job? What if I need $30,000 next year? I don't know, Rick. Do the math,
Yep. Yeah, it's I hate to refer to these as criticisms, because criticisms, I think, suggest that there's legitimacy to the thing, but there's no legitimacy in what Hennon's saying. There's no legitimacy if he is being honest and genuine, then those don't exist, and he misunderstands the bill. And if he's not being honest and genuine, then we don't need to have the discussion.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on Scott. He's the guy that I'm referring to because he works here in the same building as me, and I listen to him all the time, and I hear him say these things all the time. There's others out there who are saying this, which I think is a disservice.
Yes, and I don't mean to be picking on Scott. There are an abundance of people, whether they're in media or whether they're lobbyists or whether they're elected officials. And my concern is what they're saying is not accurate. And I think that many of them fully misunderstand because of what they've heard, the measure. They've not vetted it out. And some of them, unfortunately, do understand, but they're not particularly interested in the truth.
Well, and here's the other thing, Rick. People don't understand how easy it is for the city of Fargo to raise the mills without you even really knowing it. And it's only going to be $50 or $60 more a month on your property tax. You may or may not even notice it. Okay. The discussion isn't there, like you said in the first segment. Now, if at the same time I, as a city commissioner, went to the people and said, hey, I want a $50 road tax, a new tax on you, $50 a month to take care of the road in front of your house, people would be like, you tax me enough already. How about no? You know what I mean? So we can raise property taxes like it's nothing. But if I wanted to give you a smaller increase and I call it something different, people lose their minds, which justifiably, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that it's much harder for a city commissioner to pass an actual tax than it is to just raise your current tax.
Right. And maybe the citizen will say, yes, I do agree with that. Mm-hmm. But at least they were involved. Exactly. At least they had a voice. That's what this does. It gives a voice to the average citizen. So,
and there's other ways to raise funds, right? So is it possible if your measure passes, and so we're stuck at $25 million for the city, this is for the city of Fargo. Moorhead's going to be, West Fargo will be different, Horace will be different. But here in city of Fargo is $25 million, which, by the way, isn't the whole shebang. That's not talking about the schools, by the way. That's not talking about, the park board or the county. That's just the city of Fargo is $25 million, which is pretty sweet. Would we be able to ask the legislature to raise that amount somewhere down the line? And would they be able to do that with this measure?
They're not prevented from it. Right. So what the measure says is they must replace no less than.
Okay.
So they can never give less than, for instance, as you said, $25 million to the city of Fargo. They can never give less than that. And so, if let's say oil keeps producing and they're rocking and rolling and they want to do more, they sure can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very good, Rick. We're going to head to the next segment here, but why don't you tell people a little bit about your campaign? You got 1 minute to talk about your Congress run, and then I'll let you go back to work.
Sure. Yeah, well, make sure people go endpropertytax.com, endpropertytax.com. I am running for Congress. I am a principled conservative. I am, as my opponents will say, a fighter, a bull in a china shop. I think we are in such a rough place in America that we must have someone who's going to fight for us. We are so sick of the squishy moderates with no spine. If we're going to fix America, we can't do it by sending status quo politicians. We have to get fighters in there. I encourage people to go to rickbecker2024.com. Check it out. Vote on June 11th. That's what will determine who goes to Congress to represent us next. June 11th, it's coming up really fast.
All right, Rick, all the best of luck with that run, and even selfishly, more with the property taxes, okay?
All right. Thanks so much, Tony.
All right, I'll see you later. Rick Becker, Dr. Rick Becker from Bismarck. He's running for Congress, and he's also spearheading the move to rid ourselves of property taxes. Next on the show, we'll have Rory Jorgensen, who's running for West Fargo City Commission. Give us a call, 701-293-9000. Email studio@wdayradionow.com. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Thursdays with Tony. I'm your host, Tony Gehrig. I'm a former Fargo City Commissioner. I'm here with Rory Jorgensen, who's running for West Fargo City Commission. We'll get to him in just a moment. Talking with Rick Becker in the previous two segments, and we got some Facebook messages, some comments, and one is, no, please tax me more, said no one. Kevin comes in and says, some people have said that. And then she says, well, maybe there should be a donate now button. I like that. That's if you want to pay more taxes, have fun. I don't want to pay more taxes, though. Rory, you run for West Fargo City Commission. You're going to be taxing people quite a lot over there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, people who may not know you.
I'm a lifelong resident in West Fargo, lived there for well over 50 years. You know, West Fargo is one whole town. I grew up in Old Town, West Fargo. Lived on that street for 30-some years, and I served on the West Fargo Fire Department, both the city and the rural fire department. Made it as high as assistant chief on the city department, and I retired as the rural fire chief. Lived there with my wife. She's a police officer in town. Been a police officer for 25 years, so I've seen the expansion. I've seen the growth of West Fargo, and it's going to keep changing.
Yep, absolutely. So I always like to ask this question, ask it to all the candidates. What do you think the top 3 issues are, and what have you been hearing from the citizens as what the top 3 issues are, and are they different or are they the same?
Well, not in any particular order, but West Fargo touted itself as city on the grow. Well, now it says no vacancy because there's no dirt to build on. The growth, now that other diversion's going in, there's already been landowners want to annex into the extraterritorial property. Need to get in front of that, need to meet with the builders, the developers, the bankers, the realtors. They're on the front lines. Their customers are telling them what they want or what they need to continue their growth as their businesses. So the growth is a huge part that's going to become. In 1995, when I was on the fire department, we hired a consultant to where are we going to put the next fire hall. They were already thinking about it years back then.
Oh, yeah.
So $20,000 we paid him, and he said just south of Menards on 9th Street, there's a power substation. He goes, nobody's going to build next to a power substation. You're not going to put a park there. And his last comment was, West Fargo's never going to grow south of the interstate. We tried to get our $20,000 back.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But, the flood of 97, West Fargo took off. Another thing is specials. When you bring up specials, what's the next sentence you hear? They're special, all right. I mean, everybody's just shocked at them. If they would have called it something else, it's still, you're going to need them. You need the roads, you need the water lines, the sewers, you need them all. Some of it should be spread out different and should be taxed different or assessed different. I know businesses get assessed at a different rate than what the residential is. And I live on the very north end of town. Those roads are pounded. Well, there's 4 big corporations up there, Cargill, Strata, Monsanto, there's the oil company, and all the semi-traffic coming out of Fargo. That's who's beating up them roads. My car's not doing it. But, you can't reach into Fargo to assess them. So, and a lot of the old infrastructure in West Fargo needs a lot of work. I know the street foreman grabbed the mayor and they drove around town just to see how bad some of the streets are. And the city has started doing a lot of the overlays themselves, which is a savings to taxpayers. And, they're filling in the lagoons, so they're justifying their wages versus paying a contractor. So those are a lot of big issues there that got to be addressed daily and not now, I shouldn't say not now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15. I mean, there has to be an outlook and a very well planned out, financially, fiscally responsible layout.
Is that the same priority as you've heard from the taxpayers?
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, it's the rising cost of what houses are getting assessed at. I took a 36% hit this year on my house. I wasn't happy, and I went to the city council, and I said, I agree with the total assessment value of my house. It just wasn't touched for 13 years. If they stay on top of it, and I could stomach 0.25% a year or something like that, but I took a 36%, but you had the audacity to give my wife, which is a city employee, a 4% cost of living raise. It just doesn't balance out. So, a lot of people, especially in that older part of town, they're on fixed incomes, and they, I've heard Jay talk what his house went up. So it's, it's a tough thing to keep, trying to maintain or ease the cost of property taxes.
Yep. One thing I hear a lot from candidates, not just in West Fargo but everywhere, is growth. So a lot of mayors and even commissioners say, well, look at how fast we're going, look how great we're doing. See, everyone wants to live here. We must be doing a great job because everyone wants to live here. Growth for the sake of growth, I think you're feeling it. Your bills are going up faster than what people are paying into the coffers. Is West Fargo growing too fast?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's kind of on hold now. There's no dirt that they're actually developing. Like on the northwest corner of town, the oldest part of town, just north of the fairgrounds there, it's called Mosquito Flats. But the city put that into a TIF zone, and there's going to be some growth going on there for commercial property. And West Fargo is 30% commercial, 70% residential. It'd be nicer to see closer to a 50-50 or a 60-40. Businesses are worth more per square foot than residential. Plus, they have the opportunity to bring in sales tax. So West Fargo on that north end of town is getting primed for a lot of growth, and Fargo's kind of landlocked. I mean, I know they're developing to the north, but they don't have much room to go there either.
And the reason I bring up that notion of growing too fast is very few politicians will say, no, we're growing too fast. We need to pump the brakes a little bit. And so they keep offering incentives. They keep offering TIFs. They keep offering new home abatements for people. And while you're doing that, you're building roads to these new developments, right? And you're putting in the infrastructure to these new developments. And you're fixing roads that are leading up to those developments, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to push you towards is if you had a more sustainable, like 2 or 3% growth per year instead of having 10%, then 8%, then 12%, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And have these big, spikes. That's where your major cost of growth comes from, because you're building things like new roads and bridges, like as you go south, right?
Yep.
Do you recognize that maybe West Fargo is in that trap of just saying we want to just grow our way out of this debt that we're in?
No, I don't believe they are. Talking to previous mayors and city councils, after the flood of '97, that's when like Eagle Run and that whole area took off, and the developers basically ran the show. We want these roads now. We want
absolutely.
I mean, and I get to the point where the city was happy to take, let's just say, an acre of land was worth $12,000, and not, like the one landowner out west of town, he's got a whole section, 640 acres. So at roughly $12,000 an acre, that's $8 million piece of property. You put the average $300,000 homes in there, you're going to have $150 million worth of property tax. But it needs to be controlled as far as the growth, and you just can't pump. Let's fill all the dirt in right away. No, you just got. It's got to be stages, and you can't keep taking on debt.
Right, and that's the thing. Also, so when we talk about special assessments, you like Fargo, like Horace, like everybody else, uses special assessments to build these new developments. So when you say things like after the flood of '97, that developers are running the show, I think you're right. The bad part about that, or the scary thing about that, is they're using our wallet to do it. So when they develop that new place, they don't take a loan for $40 million, build all the roads and build all the lights and underground and sewer and all that stuff. They take the city's money. The city of West Fargo is in debt, I think, somewhere around $400 million just for special assessments. Is that too much debt for you guys to handle? And should you be using special assessments to develop new developments? We can argue about, the Cheyenne Street and fixing all that and fixing the roads that already exist with specials. But is it prudent to continue to special assess for new developments and allow the developer to drive your guys' spending?
I think the city should control the special assessments. You look at like Riley's Acres. Let's just say the lots up there are $100,000.
Sure.
$50,000 was specials and $50,000 was dirt. You can buy the same lot in West Fargo for $50,000. The city can control it and try to get a lower bond rate, especially nowadays. I wouldn't buy a lot that the specials were paid for, and now I'm going to pay 6.5-7% on it, where the city can get it lower than that. And like in Riley's Acres, they went through the Bank of North Dakota, I believe it was. The guy told me at one of my forums, and they got like a 2.5% interest loan for their specials up there. So that helped lower the cost. And I think if elected, I'd like to meet with the representatives and stuff of the legislator and go, what can you do for us? You're our representatives in the state. The legacy fund I just saw yesterday. Oh, it hit $10 billion. It don't give out a dime. I mean, give West Fargo let's just say $100 million at 1% or 2%. It's still just, it's a rainy day fund. Well, that bucket's got to be full. Mm-hmm. And the amount, what was it, 500 and some million since last August. Help these towns out, not just West Fargo, but help a lot of the towns and, the schools and everything. The money's there. I mean, I don't know how to get it out of there.
All right, Rory Jorgensen's running for West Fargo City Commission, 701-293-9000. Email studio@wdayradionow.com. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll have our last segment with Rory on the other side. We'll see you then. Welcome back to Thursday with Tony. Last segment here for the week. Here with Rory Jorgensen, West Fargo City Commission candidate. We were talking a bunch of different issues, but growth is obviously on the minds of West Fargo because that's what you guys are doing right now. You're growing and you're spending a lot of money to do that. We talked a little bit about special assessments for new homes. Again, I think you're in a position as a city where for the existing infrastructure, I think you do have to special assess. You don't really have a whole lot more mechanisms. Like you said, you're mostly, I think you said 70% homes at this point, so you don't have that big bucket of businesses like the city of Fargo does to pull from. So we can argue about that, but I could mostly understand. For new homes, though, I want to hold you down a little bit on this and say the way it works for someone who may not know. If you buy a new house, the developer builds out the lots. So let's say 100 lots, and the city of West Fargo will take out a $50 million loan, give that loan to the developer. The city of West Fargo is on the hook for that interest and all those payments. The developer spends that money, puts in the roads and all the stuff in there, lighting, sidewalks, all the stuff to make a lot, and then they give that loan or the payments to the homeowner who now owns that home, right? So if you look at it, the city of West Fargo is making money because you charge more interest than you took it for. The developer is making money because they just got a free loan. I mean, they doesn't really touch them. It just goes right through to when they sell the lot. That sits go right there to the homeowner. And now the homeowner is strapped with a 30-year mortgage on this loan that's a percent higher than what you guys took it at. So they're the ones really holding the bag. And you're in debt a lot in West Fargo. So can you continue this system? And oh, by the way, you have growth issues, right? You're growing really fast. So this is another incentive to grow even faster. And I'm just wondering if there's going to be a strong discussion when you're there as a city commissioner to say, hey, does this system still make sense for us? Right.
I mean, I don't know what the other avenues are, as far as
make the developer pay for it.
Right.
That's it. I mean, that's what everyone else in this country does.
I think it would slow down the growth. I mean, nobody up here is used to it.
Yes, that's what you need.
And I get, and like Horace is a buzzsaw. Their building is going booming.
Yeah, and they're going in debt like worse than you guys. Like they're following your lead is what they're doing.
They're West Fargo from the year 2000.
Absolutely, and they're not looking at you going, oh no, this is a bad thing. They're going, oh no, look how great they're doing. And I'm like waving my hands in there, going, no, slow down. You're gonna go broke. You don't have the money for your growth.
Right. West Fargo will grow. It's just how do we want to approach the developers? Meet in the middle, or I don't know what the right answer is right now.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I mean that's just my warning to you and Horace. And I think Horace is in a worse spot than you because they're much smaller, and they have even less businesses than you guys do. Growth for the sake of growth is super dangerous, and Fargo is on the same track as well.
Uncontrolled growth is a company's worst nightmare.
Yeah, there you go. You got it. So incentives. So I think we can agree that there's incentives for businesses and there's incentives for new homes. I think we talked about the new homes already. I think you're still in favor of the new home abatement.
I am. Learn from Horace's mistake. They shut it off and buildings stopped. And
that's not what happened. But anyway, I'll let you have your opinion. That's fine.
There was a lot of uproar going on with the developers, sir.
There was, but they went from 600 homes a year to 500, which is still more than Fargo.
Right.
And
you look at the incentives. I mean, how Moorhead and Dilworth do theirs, where it's unlimited for 5 years, and we're at 150 for 2 years.
I think we just raised it. Did we just raise it? No, we didn't.
No.
That was the Renaissance Zone. My fault. Never mind.
Yeah. So, we're not taking money from anybody. We didn't have that money to start with on a new home. So in 2 years, nobody's building a $150,000 house, so they're not getting free taxes for a year or 2 years. But after that fact, they just took that dirt from X to Y.
Yep.
So we're increasing the tax base.
So devil's advocate then. So you're talking about $3,000 a home over 2 years because it's $150,000 that they're abating. About $3,000 a year for a home. If you have 500 homes that you build, we're talking about some serious money, especially for a small town like Horace. Or even like West Fargo, which is not a huge town. You only have 45,000 people, right?
Right.
And so if you're not taking money in from 300 homes a year or 400 homes a year, and it's $3,000 a home, where do you get the money from? Because that growth is still happening. Those roads are still being built. You're still hiring cops and firemen, right?
Right.
And you guys are hiring firemen like crazy because you just started your department, right?
Right.
Your full-time department.
Yeah. No. So you're still increasing your income as far as that you're not getting as much as what you will in 2 years. But you budget accordingly. You pre-plan, so you're going to get this much more starting in this year. But so that's how you can control the budget by the amount you're going to take in. And if you know it ahead of time, you should be able to do that.
You can, or you go into debt like Fargo does. we know we can see it too. How about for businesses? So you may or may not want my stance on incentives in the city of Fargo. Fargo is not West Fargo. You guys are on the grow. You're smaller. You need more businesses in your town. I can understand where you're at. You've had some pretty big incentives recently. There was the brewery downtown. Everyone loves to talk about that one. But even like Epic, they have the lights, right? I think you gave something like $14 million to them because you also created a parking ramp for them there. What's going to happen with that now that Epic is perhaps defunct? I don't know where they're sitting at right now, but if they go belly up, what happens to the taxpayers' dollars that happened with incentives?
That's a really good question, and it's a very fresh question. So I haven't had a chance to sit down with Bernie or anybody on the city commission. The rumor mills are flying out there. It's going to be, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be unfortunate for a lot of businesses and employees in town. They're a huge company. They brought a lot to the area, and I don't have probably zero facts on what actually is going to happen, or I would hope that the city's in front, or has met with the leadership of Epic and are devising a plan or trying to get something together. But right now, I don't know much about it. Being it just happened here last week.
Yeah, and it's something that doesn't happen very often, right? When we give incentives out, usually get paid off, right?
Yeah.
Here in West Fargo and Fargo. So it is one of those things that doesn't happen very often. However, you would hope that there would be some sort of system in place. You know what I mean? Because it's not inconceivable that it can happen. Any business can fail, right?
Right. Listening to the mayor of Grand Forks, sounds like they're covered up there. So I don't know. West Fargo hasn't made a comment yet about it.
What do you mean they're covered?
Well, Boczynski said everything was going to be fine as far as their end.
Okay.
So vague comment, right?
Right.
There was no facts. There was no specifics.
Yeah.
He was giving an interview, and That's what he said.
If they sell, I mean, look, if Epic goes under and they have to sell their properties, that's the best case scenario for the city then, because whoever takes over that property then is going to be the one paying the taxes.
Right.
Is going to be the one who receives the incentive going forward and all kind of thing. So that would be the best case scenario. Okay. We got about a minute left here. Do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook page? Do you have something you want to plug?
I do have a Facebook page. I kind of just set it up here in the last few days. I was fortunate to be endorsed by the BIA, which is the formerly known as the Home Builders Association. Okay. I was endorsed by the Red River Valley FOP Lodge 1. So I'm wide open. You can find all my information on my Facebook page, and it'll take a link to my candidacy page too. So.
All right, Roy Jorgensen, running for West Fargo City Commission. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, great. All right, folks, that's your show for today. I encourage you to go to Rick Becker's website, not only for Congress, but for the property tax. There's a lot of information being put out there that I don't think is accurate. The idea that if you could only get $25 million from the state, that's a bad thing, to me is wild. And it can do nothing but help the average person. If the state has more money than is needed. It's the state's money. That's our money. And I think as Rory said about a different subject is they're not paying. All right. They're not giving it back to you. So how do you fix that? You go ahead and abate some sort of taxes, which would be property taxes, which means they don't take them. And that's a way to get your money back out of it. So I encourage you to go to those pages, and we'll see you next Thursday on this show, Thursdays with Tony.